Yes, boys.
Welcome in, everybody, to a new episode of Catfish on Ice with Chad Minton, Rich Howe, and Kyle Perkins. Guys, we are almost through the desert of the off season. I can
I feel
feel it.
like I'm walking through the middle of the desert looking for a cold drink. It's not
And
good.
I can see the cold drink stand, like it's in the distance, but we're not quite there yet. We still got a little ways to go.
Yep.
But
It's yeah, man.
I'm thinking of Clark Griswold in Vacation.
Vacation.
The Vacation movie when he's going through the desert. He's got the little makeshift little shirt over his head, and we're just wandering aimlessly through the hockey off-season desert right now. But we've almost made it.
Yep. Max Greenberg, what's up, man? Hello, gentlemen. We are
all right. How are you doing tonight, guys?
Using that
term. I don't know if we're gentlemen. I don't know.
I don't know. DJ Kyle's in the house.
Yeah, a little few issues, technical difficulties to start the evening, but I'm trying to work on them.
It's all good.
Hey, technical difficulties and all, we're still happy you're with us.
Absolutely.
All right, everybody. So we are getting ready for training camp. Preds training camp's only a couple weeks away. That's our next big moment to get to. And I think that a lot of people might agree with me that the feeling going into Preds training camp this year is a lot different than maybe how we felt this time last year. I feel like this team finally kind of knows what they want to be. I don't think there's a tons of roster competition. And so one of the main topics we got in store tonight on Catfish on Ice is the top storylines that we have compiled going into training camp. There's a lot of good stories to follow. So we are going to dish some of those out and talk about them tonight on the show.
Absolutely. What's up, Lindsay? Lindsay put a picture in our chat. She moved. She has got a crap ton of hockey jerseys. Like, I don't know if you guys saw that picture in there or not, but she's got like a rack full of jerseys. It's crazy. It's awesome.
Well, anyway. That's a good thing to do. That's a good thing to collect is hockey jerseys. That is a really good collection to start, and there's a lot of good ones out there. Lindsay, welcome in. You're here with us. Again, Episode 140, Catfish on Ice. We've got Rich over there chugging a Rockstar energy drink because, hey, it's late. We're in the Eastern time zone, everybody. So we got to get the caffeine flowing here.
Justin
Gambino's in the chat. He says, I'm just ready for the season at this point.
Yep.
We also got to update. We got to update every most hated teams for Preds fans bracket. We are in the semifinals, gentlemen. We are down to 4 teams. 4 very disliked teams. Let me just say that. These matchups are going to be interesting. How about the upset of the bracket? The Dallas Stars took down the St. Louis Blues in the second round of most hated teams. I don't know if I saw that come. I thought that the Blues would end up winning that poll, but the Stars, apparently they're not. They're hateless for a lot of Preds fans. I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, I didn't either. That's I know who I voted for. That would definitely be St. Louis, but I would have thought for sure everybody hated them more, but I guess not.
I think it's basically the Corey
Go
Perry
ahead,
effect. Dallas lost Corey Perry now, so maybe some of the hate's gone.
Maybe you're probably right. That's probably absolutely correct. But
so now our semifinals matchup. Our semifinal matchup, we've got the Pittsburgh Penguins going up against the Dallas Stars on one side, and then on the other side, we got the Blackhawks going up against the Vegas Golden Knights. So I mean,
and I'm looking at it right now. I'm actually looking at it. One is super close. One is not close at all.
Shocker.
So, we can talk about that in a little bit. But
so the Stars-Penguins matchup, last time I checked, it's pretty close. It's very early in the voting, but it was pretty close.
That's the one that's close. Well, we've got 56 votes so far. And the
Still
Stars are ahead 51.8%. Penguins 48.2%.
Ooh, we're down to like a couple percentage points here. All right.
Yeah, very close. Yeah. So then if you look at the other one, we've only got 26 votes, but it's only been out there for an hour. The Golden Knights have 15.4%, and the Blackhawks have 84.6%. So that one's, yeah, you can kind of see how this might play out, but it's still early. So Nikki's here. Nikki, what's up? Glad to have you in, as always.
Also, so like going into tonight's episode live, I'm obviously having to find other ways to feed my sports fandom in this month. You know, baseball's not doing it for me. There's no hockey going on right now. So I took some U.S. Open tennis tonight, and I got to watch the legend, the walking, living legend that is Serena Williams. I mean, one of the most amazing, not just female athletes of all time, but professional athletes of all time. She is so amazing to watch. We're talking about a 40-year-old woman who just had a kid not too long ago, and she's not even ranked anymore. And she just went out and beat the number 2 ranked player in the world, and it was a really fun. Here's the thing about tennis. I don't watch it regularly, but when I do watch it, it is some exciting television, let me tell you. When you got 2 players going back and forth and the things they do, I mean, I've tried to play tennis, and it is one of the hardest sports I've ever tried to play. Yeah. It's right up there with golf for me. Like, it is so difficult.
So I haven't played in a while, but I used to play tennis like a lot, and I used to watch every tournament that was on, and it is very exciting to watch when you get into it. People think it's kind of boring at first, but it's pretty exciting when you see them, the top athletes in the sport doing their thing. It's pretty awesome. So
Rich, did you have the shorts and everything?
No, man. What, like tennis shorts?
Yeah.
No, man. I go out like just regular pair of shorts and like Converse. I didn't have the whole gear, but yeah. I don't want to date myself, but I remember when Andre Agassi used to have like a mullet. If that tells you anything.
You totally just dated yourself. I hate to break it to you, Rich. If you just said Andre Agassi with a mullet. So I remember Andre Agassi at the end of his career, but he was bald.
Yes.
Andre Agassi with a mullet. Yeah, you just dated yourself, buddy. I hate to break it to you.
So I don't know if anybody remembers, but Andre Agassi used to wear like really colorful clothes out there. He was real flamboyant. And Wimbledon has like a strict rule of you have to wear white. You cannot wear any other color but white. And like Agassi didn't even want to go do Wimbledon because of that or whatever. And I remember when he actually showed up at Wimbledon the first time and he was wearing all white and everybody made a big deal out of it. So
I know nothing about tennis at all.
I used to watch it all the time. I loved it. It's fun to play. It's a lot of fun.
I know they love each other a lot. And
yeah,
that's about it.
Yep. Justin Gambino
let me say that.
Who that is.
Well, awesome. Let me just say this. So watching this match tonight, so with Serena Williams and the whole crowd, you're talking about a bigger than a normal arena. Like, Arthur Ashe Stadium I don't know the exact attendance, but this place was loud watching it on TV. Yeah. And it was probably like 95% in favor of Serena Williams, obviously. Yeah. And the crowd's just like roaring every time she scores a match point or scores a point. And all I can think about is this poor other person she's playing against. Like, it's one thing when the whole stadium is cheering against you and you're on a team. And it's like, okay, it's us against the world. I got my teammates here with me. But when you're out there by yourself going up against a legend like Serena Williams, and this whole arena is cheering against you. I mean, her name's Annette Kondovit. She's from Estonia. She's the second-ranked player in the world. And let me just also throw a lot of respect to her because she gave it everything. She made it very interesting. It was a very competitive match. I could not imagine the pressures that she was up against with an entire stadium cheering against her, essentially. mad respect to her as well. But it was fun to watch. I have a lot of respect for tennis players because you're out there on an island by yourself. It's you that it's you going up against someone else.
Yep,
So
for sure. And
cool stuff.
It's even worse because like everybody's quiet while you're playing, and then when somebody gets a point, the place just goes nuts. So it's like it's not like I go to a sporting event and like everybody yells the whole time and it's loud. It's just like quiet, and then everybody freaks out. So,
and that's kind of how this match. That's kind of how this match went. It was the crowd was just roaring every time Serena Williams did something good. So, but it was fun. It was good stuff. Great stuff.
Good stuff.
All right, everybody. We are presented by DraftKings and part of the Hockey Podcast Network. Catfish on Ice, episode 143. We also are going to do some player previews. We pretty much get down to the end of the roster here, but we do still have three really big defensemen to talk about tonight. That's going to be our previews tonight. Ryan McDonough, Dante Fabro, and Jeremy Lazon are our three player previews tonight. We've already talked a lot about these three players. Kyle just gave a really weird look over there. I don't know if that's in reference to Lazon or Fabro. We'll see. We'll have to wait and see.
As Meatloaf said, 2 out of 3 ain't bad.
Okay. All right.
They all can't be Roman Yossi, Kyle. They all can't be Roman Yossi.
We need third pairing defensemen too. Okay.
I'm just kidding. I'm just joking.
All right.
Not even asking for that. That's awesome.
All right, everybody. Let's get into it here. Also, just want to throw a lot of love to Hockey DB. They did a Twitter space last night, and they were very kind to send us some invites to join this Twitter space. I didn't even really know how the Twitter space thing worked up until last night. I've heard of it, but I really didn't know how it all worked. But it's basically just like radio for Twitter. There's no video. It's just all audio. Yep. And it's just this big open forum discussion. It was really cool. Hockey DB, it's called Hockey of Tomorrow. They do these live Twitter spaces. And so they invited all the people in the market who cover the Predators. Willie Donick was there. Our friends over at On the Forecheck were on there. A lot of cool people were on there. I was very, very honored to be part of such a great group of people who know their stuff and cover the Predators. So that was a lot of fun. So you can go follow Hockey DB and Hockey of Tomorrow to go listen to that if you would like. It was a fun discussion. We talked about a lot of good stuff. A lot of fun with that.
Very cool.
Let's open it up here with our top training camp storylines that we have going on here and how we're feeling about all that. I'll go ahead and start with my top storyline, and it's centered around one player, and it's probably the top player I'm most interested in. We've talked about this player a lot. It's a big-time favorite on the show, and that is Cody Glass. I can't wait to see what he can do in training camp. We all think that he's the fourth-line center, but the kid still needs to have a really good camp, because if for some reason he gives coaches reason to think that maybe he's not progressing right and he has a lackluster camp in the view of coaches, well, that's going to leave them with a tough decision for the fourth line. So I'm really excited to watch Cody Glass, see the reports out of camp on does he look like he is indeed further along than where he was last year at this time.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. It's going to be a tough field to fill those fourth line spots, though. There's a bunch of guys that are going to be shooting to get one of those three spots. So it's going to be a lot of good competition for sure.
But Cody Glass is your cornerstone there. He's the one that you really need to be ready to take the reins and make this happen.
Yep.
How do you feel about it, Kyle? Is he one of your main players that you're really excited to watch in training camp?
Yes, he is. I think it boils down to how they decide to deploy the lines. If they go for a typical traditional heavy fourth line like they've been using, I don't think Glass makes the roster just because there's not room. And that's very unfortunate and will be yet another hit against this kid's career that he should have had an opportunity and didn't get. But if they do decide to go more the Carolina route, which is what I really hope that they do, and run four lines that are capable of scoring, your third line can take care of any rough stuff that's needed.
That's
You
the
need
heavy
no
line.
more aggression than that line right there.
Yeah.
You don't need the big, heavy fourth checking line. You've got good penalty killers up and down the lineup. Let Glass center that fourth line with probably Tolvanen and insert random wing here. But I think that would be the wiser course as the league goes more to a speed system. You look last year, most of Nashville's games where they got absolutely ran out of the building, they literally got ran out of the building by a team that was that much faster than them consistently over 4 lines.
Yeah,
I
for
agree.
sure. I agree with that. I think that to expand on that, I mean, it's going to be, for me, it's going to send a really bad message if you roll out Michael McCarron to open the season. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to beat up on McCarron. I do think he has a place on this roster as a rotational type of player. But, I mean, if you truly want this team to start competing with the big dogs of the league, then you've got to take some chances here. And like Kyle just said, you got to have 4 lines that can score. You can't, it's not the way this league traditionally runs anymore. You've got to have, and Cody Glass has that raw ability to give you an effective scoring fourth line if everything comes together for him. That's why I figure he's a big storyline for training camp, because you really need him to be ready to go. If he's ready to take off this season and have a breakout year similar to what Tanner Jeannot did for us last year, suddenly this Predators team has 4 lines that can hurt you.
Yep. I agree with that.
That's why Cody Glass is a major X factor.
Yeah, it seems like, a few years ago it was more finesse, and then they moved to the heavy-handed, playing a rougher game, and they had more success, and that was good. But now if they could it seems like they're going to put both of those aspects together, and you get some speed and still have, the third line toughness or whatever. I think that's going to be a really good mixture. So.
For sure. All right. Another storyline I have, and this is a pretty obvious one, but it's the new guys in town. It's how are the new guys going to gel with this team, and how much better are they going to make them, and how are they implemented early on in practice and in the preseason games. Nino Niederreiter, Ryan McDonough, even Zach Sander. No one's talking about him because obviously he's a fourth line role player, but where are they going to plug him in? He's another player where training camp's going to be very important for him. He has the ability with a strong training camp to earn himself a starting spot to open the season on that fourth line. So, I want to see what the new guys look like. I want to see, does John Hines maybe implement some new systems, with these new players on the team? Does the team suddenly become a little bit more offensively aggressive, or do we see the same approach and style of what we saw last season?
Yeah, I agree. It's actually, when you think about it, it's kind of exciting. We've gotten some players, this year who we can kind of get excited about. Not that we haven't in the past, but it just seems like they had more movement this season to get guys, and it definitely causes a little more excitement, and you're kind of a little bit of a buzz about what they're going to look like. So it's pretty awesome.
What are your thoughts on it, Kyle?
The new guys coming in is really, really exciting for me because it solidifies 2 really large issues that they had. They needed another competent top 4 defenseman. They got one. They needed another quality winger. Is Niederreiter the guy that's going to come in and score 40 goals as well as their other 2 goal scorers? No. But is he going to be a guy that's going to score 20, 25, help Ryan Johansson out, make him feel comfortable, maybe have Philip Tomasino on that other wing. Philip Tomasino could be your breakout, but we'll get to that later. That's something.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah.
But so you figure with 5 preseason games here, you've got 2 against the Panthers, 2 against the Lightning, and then you've got an exhibition game against SC Bern. I'm interested to see what kind of lineups you see in that game. But, you figure like you're probably going to see Niederreiter in at least 2 or 3 of those 5 exhibition games. And I just want to see initially where he's slotted. We all think he's going to be with Johansson. But I want to see, okay, what do they do with that other wing? And so Kyle just brought up Tomasino. That's what a lot of people want to see. But I don't think that's set in stone at all. So that's be another thing to be sorted out. And it'll be fun to see in those preseason games what kind of line rushes we see. As John Hines tries to experiment with these new additions to the team.
Yeah.
If there's anything we know about Jeannot, it's he's driven to outwork everybody at everything. If you look into him at all growing up, that's kind of his MO. So Phil kind of took the summer off, and Tanner kicked butt all summer. Might be a little interesting between those two to see who could move up to that second line spot.
That's true. It's really all in Tomasino's hands. I think, at this point it's, I'm sure he's working hard or whatever, but it's up to him. It's his to take, I think, in my opinion. So.
And then going over to the defensive side of things with Ryan McDonough, that's another open, healthy debate that a lot of people are having right now. Do you put him with Roman Josi? Where do you slot him? That's a big decision to make. That's going to be fun to see as well, because we don't know for sure right now. It's not a foregone conclusion whether he's going to be with Josi or whether he's going to be with Ekholm, or we've talked about it plenty of times and how we feel about it. But that's going to be another thing that's going to have to be figured out in training camp. And that's a tough decision for John Hines to make. It's a good problem to have if you're a coach, but he does have to sort some things out here with these 2 new players, these 2 big additions.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be interesting, that's for sure.
Okay, Rich, give us a storyline here, Rich. I know you got
to. So we were talking about things that are going to happen next year, and in the season-ending press conference, I don't know what even made me think of this topic, but we heard David Poile do something that we haven't heard him do much, and that was admit that he didn't give John Hines the team that he needed to get the job done on the ice. And I was just wondering, like, if you guys thought that has he now given with the recent acquisitions, do you think he's given Hines a team he can like win with and be successful? What do you guys think?
Go ahead, Chad.
All right. Yeah, I think that answer is absolutely yes. David Poile has done his job this offseason, and that you could argue last season that he didn't do everything he could do as a general manager to give John Hines the players to win with in a postseason. That became painfully clear against the Avalanche, and also down the stretch for that matter, as the Predators limped their way into the postseason. This season, the excuses kind of have to stop when it comes to looking at the head coaching position here. If this team underperforms with this roster, assuming there's no really catastrophic rash of injuries, obviously if the team somehow loses Saros again for half the season, or let's say Josi goes down for 20-plus games, or Forsberg, if you lose some really important critical players, well, then obviously you're not going to hold that against John Hines. But assuming the team stays overall healthy and you've got the complement and the core of all your players, this team has to win. This team has to actually show us something in the postseason here. I'm not saying they got to win a Stanley Cup. I'm not even saying they got to necessarily make it to the conference finals, but they have to show us something. They can't be a dud in the postseason again this year. It can't happen.
Yeah.
I don't care who they go against. I don't care who they draw in the first round. They have to show us something, and that's going to fall on John Hines this year. The excuses have to stop. He's got a good roster to work with here.
He really does. The acquisitions aside, they had good success last season for 3/4 of the season, and they just couldn't put it together for that last quarter. But I feel that, like you said, if they all stay healthy and with the guys that they've got now, that's a big push to finish strong in the last quarter of the season. So, I think that they, like you said, they did. He did give Hines a team that he can win with, and it is on him now for sure. So I agree 100% with that.
And it's also on the players. I mean, the players still have to perform as well. It's not all on the coach, and we know that. And we've talked about this. But, I mean, Hines, it's escaping me. How many years was he signed re-upped for this year? Does he have 2 more years or 3 more years now?
2 more.
Is it 2? Okay, so he's got 2. I mean, I don't see any scenario where he's going to be fired or he's on the hot seat right now, obviously.
No,
but
not yet.
I mean, if this team misses the playoffs, or even if they get trounced in the first round again, then he's going to be right back on that offseason or back on that hot seat at this time next offseason. I guarantee it.
Oh yeah, you can guarantee that for sure.
He's not on the hot seat. He's not on the hot seat right now, but let's just say that hot seat's still very much close to him. Like he hasn't distanced himself from it that far. He still has a lot to prove as head coach of this team, especially considering the moves they've made this offseason.
Yeah. Go ahead, Kyle. Go ahead.
I think one of the biggest victories they could have would be coming into the playoffs next season not being a lame duck.
Absolutely.
That it's whenever the playoffs started this last year, nobody really had any expectation at all of Nashville beating Colorado. There wasn't that puncher's chance. Like, you weren't cheering for Rocky. I mean, it was, you knew what was going to happen. It was the Great White Hope. It was
for sure.
Just, you knew what was going to happen.
Yeah.
You can't be like that. You have to at least be competitive at the top end.
Yeah, and like you said, like, it'll be nice next season if they could, get locked into the playoffs and, not have to limp in like they did and like us scoreboard watch and all that stuff. Just kind of take care of business and get in, and then, take it from there. So
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, and it kind of felt that way the year before, honestly, when they went up against the Hurricanes. I mean, they had a little bit of a better chance, but still no one was picking them to win that series. And
they did not
games, but I mean, it's been a while since the Predators went into the postseason with a lot of hype and a lot of excitement.
Several years.
Even when they went to the Stanley Cup qualifiers in the bubble, there was very little excitement even about that.
And it wound up being a disaster for sure. Nikki said Poyle actually did a decent job this offseason. I have to hand it to him. Yeah, he did a pretty good job.
Oh, okay. I think David Poyle actually getting a little love. That doesn't happen very often.
No, it does not, for sure.
I mean, it's hard to hate what he did in this offseason. He didn't make any damaging moves, and he didn't make any just kind of – he's been criticized quite a bit for making cowardly moves.
No moves at all.
Or no moves at all. But just those ones that are like, oh, that's an easy, safe choice. Niederreiter's fairly safe, but still, it was a pretty big swing. So,
yeah. I'd say this is the biggest acquisitions they've had in 3 or 4 years, probably. Maybe since Duchesne. I don't know.
Definitely since Duchesne. Anyway. When it comes to off-season additions, like free agency additions, absolutely, it's the biggest. I mean, they've made some trades. Like the Mikael Granlund trade was a pretty big one. But generally speaking, the Predators have never been a team that gets overly aggressive in the offseason. They usually just don't do that. So to see them make not one but two really big additions, that was refreshing. That was good to see. Now they got to put it all together. All right, here's another storyline I have here. Not nearly as big, but still kind of piques my interest at least. What are we going to reshape these power play units? I mean, obviously you got to think they are. We've already brought up Cody Glass. We hope that if he does make the team, that he fits into that. How's Niederreiter going to fit in? How is McDonough going to fit into the new power play units? I mean, the power play showed promise last year, but it was very top heavy. That top power play unit was great. There wasn't a lot of hope for the second power play unit. There were times where it was just night and day. So can we get a more balanced power play attack where you throw out one power play unit, but then you've got another one right on standby to come out and really put the nail in the coffin and get that power play goal? I do think this Predators team has the skill set and the talent on this roster to be a top 10 power play in the league this year.
Yeah.
Once again. And they were in the top 10 for most of last year. I think they actually ended up finishing in the top 10. So that was all because of the top power play unit. That was very, very top heavy based on Forsberg, Duchesne, and Granlund, obviously.
Yeah. I think if you tweak what you did last year, it would be really good, like you said, to get two good power play units to roll out. And I think they can do that now. I think that gives them the flexibility.
I'm thinking like Tomasino, Cody Glass, Ryan Johansson. They are those three right there make for a good second power play unit. I really like that. I like the whole thought of Tomasino playing with Johansson. I love and hope that ends up happening, and they get at least. I hope that they give it a chance. And then if it doesn't work, and if Tomasino's not responding to that kind of pressure, or if maybe they're not gelling well together, well then you go on to something else. But I hope they, at the very least, give it a chance. And I think they could be a very productive second power play unit, those three players, along with throwing your defenseman out there. You would expect to see Ekholm maybe on the second power play unit. We'll see if Ryan McDonough is on the top power play unit with Roman Josi. But then you also have Alexander Perrier, who absolutely is deserving of being on the power play units because he is an offensive defenseman. So you got a lot of options here, and I'm very encouraged with this Preds power play being a very, very large strength of this team.
Yep.
This year.
Nashville was 6th in power play last year.
Wow.
There you go.
Maple Leafs, Blues, Oilers, Rangers, Panthers, Preds.
Sweet. Yeah, there you go. I mean, take what you did last year and tweak it a little bit, and I think it'll be pretty successful. Sounds like so.
If you give that second unit a little bit more teeth, you've got something.
Yeah,
just need some balance. Like a lot of it was all coming from the top power play unit, so you need a little bit more balance there, obviously, because there's going to be nights where Forsberg is cold. There's going to be nights where it's not clicking. They're all human. And so you need that second power play unit to be just as reliable and trustworthy as your top power play unit, And I think they have plenty of players out there who can fit in on that power play. And suddenly, if they can finish top 10 again in the power play, and then you're really working with something good there. So let's see what it looks like in training camp. That's another big storyline for me.
For sure.
One more. Hold on. We brought up new guys. Hold on one second. We brought up new guys in town, and we totally left out the new backup goaltender, Kevin Lankinen. I mean,
we sure did. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying to be funny here. I'm being serious. When it comes to Kevin Lankinen, this guy's getting kind of a rebirth for his career. I mean, he's basically he's a younger version of what David Riddick was going through last year with this team. He is in a 1-year prove-it deal. He's trying to earn himself a starting spot somewhere else eventually. But we're talking about a much younger player than David Riddick. Not extremely younger, but definitely younger. So, yeah, Lankinen is the type of player where he can rebuild his NHL career this year, and he's he does a lot of good things. So I want to see how he looks in his preseason starts. Definitely give him at least 2 preseason starts.
Mm-hmm.
You only got to start Saros once, I think. Start him once, and you're fine with UC Saros. I wouldn't put him out there more than one start. But Lankinen needs to get plenty of work in the preseason, so I want to see what he looks like.
Absolutely. I do not want to see John Hines ride Saros as much as he did last season. I want him to get a bunch of starts, obviously, but I don't know. I just didn't like. We talked about it on the podcast several times. Couldn't believe the amount of starts that he got, and I just don't think that's good.
To push back on that, Rich. A lot of your old school goalies who've played the position will say that people who feel that way, they're dead wrong. That goalies want to play. They're actually better when they're starting regularly. So it's kind of like a weird thing.
I mean, I agree with that.
I still agree with you, Rick, as well.
But when you give him a back-to-back and then 2 days off and then he plays again, and I don't know, it seemed like there was stretches where it was too much, actually. I know he wants to play. He said it himself, and he's not going to come up and go, I don't want to play today. But there was just stretches, and we talked about it. We all thought that it was just too much. So, but you also need to rely on the backup to get the job done as well. So,
yeah. So let's see what Lankinen can do here.
Nikki says, "I'm a goalie myself. I think you need consistency." That's a good insight from somebody who plays that position. So,
absolutely, and most goalies will tell you that.
And I agree with that. I totally agree with that. It's just
you look at what happened with Riddick this year. He sat on the bench all year long, pretty much, and then when they needed
poor
him,
guy, he got such a raw shake here. David Riddick got such a raw shake here.
He was set up for failure. I mean,
oh my gosh. He landed on the COVID list. He landed on the COVID list right in the beginning of the season, so that made him miss even more time. And then that game 1 start was just a nightmare. And then what game was it where he ran into the net or he ran into the post going after the puck?
Oh yeah, I don't remember. I know what you're talking about though.
That image is that image is ingrained in my head, and it's like the perfect illustration of how the Pred season ended. Was just David Riddick going full on horizontal in the air, running into his own post.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and you look at that, like Kyle said, he never got to play. And then, Saros gets hurt, and then you stick him in a game against the best team in the league. Like, what do you think's going to happen?
It was doomed for failure. It was
for sure.
Yeah,
I felt bad for him. Definitely.
All right, what other storylines do we have here, gentlemen?
You got one, Kyle?
Not really. The well is pretty dry right now.
It is.
It is. It's.
I was thinking more like when I was thinking about the David Poile thing, I was wondering if this might be his last season as general manager of the Predators. You think it's not going to be?
I don't think so.
I don't either.
Is he going to die in his office, and that's what's going to be the?
Have you ever watched Futurama?
Oh, he's going to be the. Yeah, of course I have. He's going to be the professor guy.
No, he's going to be one of the heads in a jar.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
There's going to be when David Poile decides to hand over his GM role to another person. Elon Musk is already going to have us on Mars with colonies, and there's already going to be a second NHL league on Mars where they're playing hockey in little pods. That might be when David Poile decides to hang it up.
There you go.
Sometime around then.
Or he's the cyborg.
Yeah, I don't see. He's not going anywhere. This is definitely not his last season. I don't think. No matter what happens.
Now, the beginning of last season, though, we were kind of like, "Is this it for him?" And then I think he was seeing the writing on the wall, and he's like, "You know what?
I mean, you got new ownership. I mean, you do have new ownership, but that's going to take time before they start making those types of changes. Yeah. It's impossible to know where the state of this franchise is going to be by then. So,
yeah, And the majority owner is not going to be fully the majority owner for like 3 more years or something. So
Exactly. Yeah. So
see how it plays out.
he's here to stay. He's here to stay. He's here to
Yeah, I
stay
agree.
for a while.
Yep.
All right. So that's some of our storylines we got going into training camp. Like I said, we're still a couple weeks away. We're still getting into definitely the slowest and most boring month of the year if you're a hockey fan. Not much to nibble at right now, but we are going to get you through it on Catfish on Ice, episode 143. We got a couple player previews to get to. Before we do that, let's go ahead and tell you about our sponsor, which is DraftKings. Promo code THPN is the offer we got for you. Because guess what? The wait is almost over, everybody. A new football season is about to begin. Get ready for NFL Week 1 action with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. You can use promo code THPN to get $200 in free bets instantly when you place a $5 bet on any football game. That's code THPN. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. Please see our show notes below on the podcast page for information on responsible gambling practices and if you need gambling help. Of course, if you want more action for opening night, everyone can experience the thrill of DraftKings early win promotion. Get up to 7, you win. Bet on any NFL team of your choice, and if your team leads by 7 points at any point during the game, you get paid instantly. So all you need is your team to be up by 7 points. I mean, that's not asking for too much.
No.
Even if your team ends up losing the game, all you need is for them to be up by 7. I think as long as you're not betting on the Titans, you might be okay. I don't know. All right, I like to throw shade at my football team, but actually the Titans might not be that bad this year. All right, don't bet on the Detroit Lions. How about that? I'm trying to think of the worst NFL teams.
Yeah. Or you could place a bet on both.
Don't bet on the Detroit Lions to be up by 7 points. All the other teams, you're probably safe. Don't bet on the Detroit Lions. That's my gambling advice for the night.
There you go.
Best of all, DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable, and you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. Like we said, $5 on any football game and get $200 in free bets instantly with our promo code THPN. Kyle, you're a Bears fan. I almost said Detroit Lions. You're a Bears fan, right?
Yep.
Bears.
That's almost as bad as being a Detroit Lions fan. It's not quite on that level, but it's pretty bad. I'm sorry, Kyle. I love you, man, but that is a rough fan. That's a rough fandom to have.
It's tough sledding, as they say.
Yeah. We're good about one season every 20 years.
The last Super Bowl I remember the Bears going to, your quarterback was Rex Grossman, which is maybe the worst quarterback to ever take a team to a Super Bowl.
Oh.
Rex Grossman. That was a hell of a defense, though. Brian Urlacher was on that team.
Defense was amazing. Urlacher, Briggs, and then you had Devin Hester, and Hester runs the opening kickoff back in Indy's building on the very first play, and it's just like, oh, okay, and then sadness,
and then pain.
And then who was your running back? Was Matt Forte? Was that the running back at the
time? Jones.
Oh, okay.
It was Thomas Jones at the time.
Thomas Jones.
Right,
so I guess Matt.
They drafted Forte.
Okay. All right. I remember Forte. All right. Well, still, Rex. If you could have had anybody other than Rex Grossman, you might have won that Super Bowl. Anyway, all right. We've talked tennis. We've talked tennis tonight. We've talked NFL football. Let's try to get back into some hockey here. All right. Let's do some more player previews. Let's start with Dante Fabro here because a huge cloud of uncertainty is over Dante Fabro. I think the only other player on this team that has more uncertainty around them is Eeli Tolvanen. Other than that, it's Dante Fabro as far as going into this season, and really to no fault of his own. I just think that it's coming down to the point where he's becoming more of a tradable asset more than anything.
I'm actually surprised he's even still on the team, truthfully. I thought he would have got moved by now in this offseason, but
I
if you
mean,
look at all the players, he's the most tradable, I guess.
he could. I mean, he could be a secondary defenseman on a lot of teams, but he's not a secondary defenseman on this team anymore. So, do you really want him on your third? Do you really want him on your third pairing if you get something better out of him in return through a trade? That's something we're gonna have to watch as the trade deadline gets here during the season. Depending on how this team's playing, depending on how Dante Fabro's playing, watch out because he is going to be one of the top players on the trade block if the Predators become sellers at the trade deadline.
Yeah, I think so. I agree. He had a pretty good, a decent season last year. He did better than he did the previous year. But yeah, I don't know, man. Something just doesn't click with him and Hines, I guess. I don't know. It's just really strange.
Well, the offense isn't there. You're not getting the offense from him that you would like to see at a player of his caliber and at his progression. Yes, he's still very young. Yes, he was thrown into it very young in his career. But that's one thing I got to say about Fabro is I would love to see his offensive progression be a little bit more. If you're going to be a second pairing defenseman, you've got to bring more offensive capabilities to your game, and he just really hasn't done that yet. He's a very reliable defensive defenseman. He makes a lot of smart decisions. Yes, he's very capable of also having those really bad defensive lapses. He gives away the puck a lot at the blue line and forces odd man rushes down the ice. He's been guilty of that on more than a few occasions. But for the most part, he's a pretty smart and trustworthy defensive defenseman. I got to get more offense from him, though, if you're going to ever make an argument for him being on the second pairing.
Yeah. I think so, too. I think there he was, with Ekholm for a long time and has moved around. But I think if they would have had a better option, he'd still be on the third pair somewhere, like with the Predators. If they had, and now they do have that better option, so I think he's kind of going to be the leader of that third pair, if I'm being honest. So,
yeah, I mean, you're looking at his career numbers: 48 points in 174 games, only 11 goals. Like I said, I know he's not a Roman Josi, but at the same time, that's not enough offensive production for me. So you got to see a big uptick. He's 24 years old now. We know he has the abilities to be a more two-way defenseman, but you can't be a one-dimensional defensive defenseman and make it in this league normally as a second pairing. You can be a third pairing defenseman, but it's hard to stick on the second pairing for most teams.
Yeah. And then there was that stretch where he didn't play for several games and nobody knew why. And I don't know. It was just something weird about the whole thing. So he's going to have to really step up on that third pair this year if that's where he winds up, which I'm sure it is.
I don't even think he's good defensively.
No.
Most of the time he looks lost. There's so many times you watch him get just absolutely blown by someone. He watches the puck come past him. I just smacked my microphone. He looks lost way too much, and it just drives me crazy. It's like he's looking like John Travolta, just like, what do I do with my hands? I don't know.
For all of our listeners, Kyle is broadcasting from the surface of the moon tonight. That's what you hear in the background.
Yeah.
He's a busy man. He decided to hop on the episode tonight, even though he's on a excursion in outer space right now, and he's kind of him to fit us into his schedule.
Kyle, you're supposed to do the floating in space.
Yeah, you're supposed to pretend like you're in gravity right now. No gravity.
Yeah, so Kyle's not a Dante Fabro fan.
That's fine. I get it.
That's fine. I mean,
we'll see
there were times. Yeah, I mean, you watch, and there's been several times when it's happened to him, but
It would be a major disappointment though if Dante Fabro doesn't figure it out and find his way to stick around on this team, because he came in with a lot of hype. And honestly, his career started off pretty good. Like I said, when he first came into the league as a very young defenseman, there was a lot of promise. And now he's just really flattened out. His progress is flattened out. His development is flattened out. And you're kind of feeling like he has a really low ceiling. That's kind of what I get for Dante Fabro. His ceiling is very, very low. It's almost like, even though he's only 24 years old, you kind of already know what you're going to get out of him for the rest of his career. It's kind of the feeling about him.
If you throw out the shortened season last year and you look at the 2019-20 season, which wound up being shortened as well, but he played 64 games that year and he had 11 points. He played 66 last season and got 24. So there's definitely some improvement. It's just like Kyle said, there are mistakes. Obviously, they're all going to make mistakes, but I think with McDonough now, it's I don't know. I just see him not being.
You're kind of stuck with him on the third pairing for now because you don't have really any options that are ready. I mean, if you look at their defensive depth got a little thin this year because of the fact that Matt Benning's gone now. You do still have Mark Borowiecki, but I mean, you've got some prospects that might be ready, but
I will tell you,
you're still kind of stuck with Fabro for now.
Yeah, I will tell you, a Fabro, Jeremy Lazan third pair, it sounds way better than a Borowiecki Lazan third pair. I will give you that.
Yeah,
so
that is a little bit better.
that's a definite improvement for sure. So,
speaking of which, let's get to Jeremy Lazan, another good player to bring up. So we're going to preview two players who we think are probably going to open up as your third pair defensemen, line mates together. It's hard for a lot of people to get excited about Jeremy Lazan because he just looks like another bruiser out there. He just looks like another player that's not going to give you any offensive capabilities. But I just tend to disagree with that notion. I'm not saying he's going to come out here and just blaze around and just score all these goals, but I do think he can give you some offensive capabilities. I love the fact that he's younger, and apparently the front office has a lot of faith in him because they signed him to 4 years. I mean, I could not believe he got a 4-year contract. That was a pretty big surprise to me.
Yeah. I mean, he's a role player, obviously, and we've talked about it before, and I've brought it up before. When he played in Boston, he was never going to probably play up to his potential because of how good their defensive core was. And then going to Seattle, I mean, that's just was going to be a train wreck to begin with. So I think with the fresh start, and he's going to have his first full season, I think he'll do better. Is he going to light up the scoreboard? Absolutely not. But I think he's an upgrade. He's definitely an upgrade to what they had before. So I like the dude.
I mean, you need those guys to kill penalties.
Yeah. He's a tone setter.
Yeah. You've got to have those guys that are going to come out and do the dirty work. And he came into Nashville last year, and that's exactly what he did till he got hurt.
Yep, he's gonna lay the body. He's gonna take the fights when the fights are necessary. He's gonna block big shots. He's gonna throw his body out there to protect his goaltender. He's absolutely the type of player you want for your penalty kill. The only thing that scares me about Jeremy Lazan, and it's the same reason that Mark Borowiecki scares me when he's out there, is just please do your best to avoid losing your emotions and letting your emotions get the best of you and taking penalties that aren't necessary in third period crunch time moments. And to the point where, especially when you're playing the teams with the really good power plays like the Colorado Avalanche, you cannot lose your cool. And he's a very young player that plays with a lot of raw emotion. And so I just hope, like a lot of players on this team, I just hope that he can channel that a little bit better because if he can figure out a way to do that, then he's going to be perfect for the team. He'll be perfect for that third pairing role. Just channel that emotion a little bit better. Pick your moments when you're going to take some of those offsetting penalties where it goes to 4-on-4. But they've started calling more of those penalties now where if you're the instigator, they don't always call the other guy.
Nope.
And so you're talking about the way Jeremy Lazan plays. He's got to make sure he doesn't take it too far. And then, bam, you get tagged with that instigator penalty, and then you're having to kill a really tough penalty. Like, we can't have that.
Sure.
We can't have that.
You mean all those that Luke Cunning got last year?
That's what I was. That's exactly what I was getting ready to say. They at least got rid of the player who did that the most. He was the king of the stupid penalties. So that's good. Yeah, I think with Borowiecki, he's just got that. He has that reputation, and I think he does need to reel that in because he did it as well. But I think Luke, not as much as Luke Cunning, but yeah.
If it's a bam play and two guys drop the gloves and it's an offsetting penalty and both players go to the box and you get the emotions going and you get the energy up in the crowd and you're standing up for your teammate and you're setting that tone, I'm all for that. But you've got to tote that line for sure. And Jeremy Lazan is going to be one of those players that's really going to have to make sure he's doing that because of the way he plays. So, I think he's good, though. I obviously think he's an upgrade, and I'm actually have not felt this good about the third pairing going into the season for a long time. It's been a while.
Yep.
So, all right, let's finally get to Ryan McDonough. Let's preview his season. This is the offseason right here, even more so than Nino Niederreiter. This is the move of the offseason. This is the power move that David Poile made. This is the move that can win you a playoff series or two right here. This makes you a viable postseason team, Ryan McDonough does, because you've got a top 4 defense in Yossi, McDonough, Ekholm, and Carrier that you can be really proud about. And I'll put that top 4 defensive core up against almost every – there's a few teams that you could argue have better defensive cores than that, but I would definitely say it's top 10, no doubt. Top 10 best defensive core for your top 4. Would you guys agree with that? At least top 10.
I would agree.
That's just going off the top of my head. I don't have every roster in front of me right now, but off the top of my head, at least top 10, maybe even top 5 if I really dove into it and looked at it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously McDonough is not at the end of his career, but there are fewer days ahead than there are behind. Obviously, you're not getting the production that you've gotten from him in the past, but what you are getting is a person who's got some Stanley Cups. You're getting that experience. He's obviously a tough customer from playing with Tampa Bay because those guys, that's how they play. And I think he brings a good that aspect to Nashville. And I think I like Nino Niederreiter, but I think this one it might be just a little bit up there because of his experience. So,
oh, for sure. Locker room presence, gentlemen. Locker room winning pedigrees presence. He's going to do wonders for that locker room.
Yep,
yes,
exactly what Kyle said.
He's going to do wonders for that locker room. I mean, he's already making his impact known on the community. I mean, we can worry about the end of that contract when it comes, but when it comes to making your team better right now, he absolutely does that. We talked about it a lot on the Twitter space last night with all the different Preds writers and analysts and stuff, and we were pretty much all in agreement with each other that this is the move that sends a message to the fan base and also to the players in that locker room that, we're still in it to win a Stanley Cup here. You go out and get a Ryan McDonough, that sends a clear message that we are still very much in win now mode. We're not thinking about rebuilding at all. So, and you got it for, really, you didn't have to give up anything to get him. That's the best part. It was a cap
kind of landed in their lap.
It landed in your lap. It was going bargain hunting. It was like you're digging through the DVD bin at Walmart, and somehow you find a couple Oscar-winning movies down at the bottom that you didn't own yet. And you're like, oh my gosh. Like, I had to dig through all these crappy movies, and I find like this amazing all-time great movie here at the bottom of the bin. You know, that's kind of what the Preds did. They got very lucky with their bargain shopping this offseason. And they got themselves a Ryan McDonough. I mean, it's pretty awesome.
And it's weird because, like, obviously my dislike for Tampa Bay is well noted. But I actually felt bad for the dude. You know, he put in all those years with those guys and won the Stanley Cups, and then to just, you know, we don't have room for you anymore. But, you know, it's their loss, I think, and Nashville's gain. So
I think they know that too.
Yeah.
I can promise you they didn't want to lose him.
Yeah. It
wasn't one of those situations where the Tampa Bay Lightning didn't know what they were losing. They absolutely knew what they were losing. They just didn't have any other choice.
Yeah.
You know,
I just felt bad for him kind of as a person.
That's the cost the cost of winning 2 Stanley Cups in a row and going to a third in a row. Is eventually that bubble's going to burst and you're going to have to lose some players. You can't keep them all. That's the beauty of the salary cap. That's what keeps this league competitive. And so eventually their bubble had to burst. It was nice to see that the Predators were on the receiving end of that by getting Ryan McDonough.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I couldn't even believe it when they announced it. I was like, are you kidding me? How did this happen?
Yeah.
And it wound up being, I mean, I was in shock. I was like, no way that they pulled this off. And it wound up not being anything. Like, it was just, you know, an acquisition. Yeah.
Judging on where he's going to fit in the lineup, I mean, everyone's basically focused on, can he play on the right? Can he be a right-shotted defenseman and play alongside Roman Josi? That's the big question mark there that we already kind of touched on earlier when we were talking about our training camp storylines. I'm you know, Kyle kind of talked me into it. I was originally all about keeping Carrier and Josi together, but Kyle's kind of spoken some knowledge into me, thinking, you know what, maybe Josi and McDonough. I mean, you're talking about, I mean, gosh, it's so hard to not get all excited inside when you think about a Josi McDonough defensive pairing. Woo! Yeah, that is that gets you going right there.
Yeah, so like if you go Josi Carrier, they have like similar games. I know Carrier is obviously not as good as Roman Josi yet. He could be potentially down the road.
Yet, he threw in a yet.
If you split that, you never know. You split that up. You put Josi McDonough. You got, you know, Josi with his offense, then McDonough, and then you got Ekholm Carrier. Seems like a pretty good recipe for me. I don't know.
That's my thoughts.
Yeah,
as well, Rich.
Yeah, just spread out the offense a little bit. You know what I mean? So, and
I mean, that veteran presence, as far as, you know, that McDonough's gonna very, very rarely make the bad boneheaded decision on the ice. Like, overwhelmingly speaking, he is going to be in the right place at the right time. He is not going to be a liability out there, and he's just going to make this team a lot tougher to score against. He's going to make life way easier on UC Saros. That's the plan. Protect your goaltender better. Don't get carved up against some of these speed demon teams that are out there. McDonough's going to be a force for a lot of teams to have to deal with on that blue line. And then if you look at like the younger defensemen, like you got arguably top 2 best defensemen in Roman Josi, and then you've got, you know, McDonough, who's won Stanley Cups. I mean, like, just being around those guys is going to make the younger guys better, just from their experience. So that's awesome, and it's really exciting. For sure. All right. We threw out a Twitter question going into tonight that was, give us your hottest take.
Oh, yeah.
Going into the 2022-23 season. We got a couple responses. We'll share them here. Let's get to it here.
Justin Gambino had like a really like long laundry list of things that are going to happen, which is cool.
Yeah. We got some good ones. Yeah, let's hear
Mhm.
Justin Gambino's. Justin Gambino says for his hottest prep going into the season, he says franchise goal record in a single season gets broken again. That's a hot take, but I don't think it's sizzling. I could easily see that happening.
It could happen.
Yeah, if
Definitely.
Forsberg could have been that healthy for 82, he would have got several more.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and then he throws in Saros wins the Vezina. Hey, I'm on full record of saying that that's my hot take. So me and Justin are in agreement there. Saros wins the
Mhm.
Vezina. Preds play in the finals, bringing the Cup final awards and draft to Nashville this season. He puts a big laugh out after that.
Yep.
And then he says, I'll add one more. Tomasino hits 30 goals. That's a good one.
I'll take it.
That's a hot
for sure.
take.
It is.
Tomasino hitting 30 goals, that would be pretty amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Especially
I haven't
considering
read these yet, and that's what mine was.
Are you
Oh, yeah.
serious? That would be a big accomplishment considering the fact that it's going to be only his second season in the pros. He's only or in the NHL. He's only 21 years old. And also considering that for last season, the single season France goal record was only 34 goals by Victor Arvidsson.
But who will he
Right.
be
So
skating?
if you talk about a second year player hitting 30 plus goals for this franchise, that's pretty amazing. So that's a good one. I like it.
So there's another one, and I'm going to read this one because Nikki is actually in the chat with us right now. Said Mike Fisher comes right out of retirement and wins the Rocket. Austin Matthews cries. Then Carrie Underwood sings the Star Spangled Banner when the Preds are in the finals before they obviously win the cup later on. It's got everything. That has everything all wrapped up in one.
That would just break Broadway. I don't even know what Broadway would be like the craziest scene you've ever came across if that happened.
Yep. Nikki says, boom.
If you add in Taylor Lewan chugging a beer through a catfish, the world will explode.
Again, an even bigger catfish this time. One of those, yeah, that'd be crazy.
All right, we've got one. This one isn't for. All right, we got another Kyle in here. Kyle responded and said his hot take is Cody Glass and Tomasino each go for 20 goals and 30 assists. So each go for 50 points. And Preds win the cup against a Patrick Kane-led Toronto Maple Leafs.
There's lots of going on there.
The first part is possible. The second part, oh, wow. That's a lot of ego on one team. Oh.
For sure. Then there's another one, Shepherd. Are you going to – I'll read that one real quick.
No, Shepherds, yeah.
Yeah, it says, seeing many pick the Preds for fourth in the Central, but if Phil and Duchesne can repeat close to last year and Joey can mesh with Niederreiter and the new improved D has a decent year with McDonough, I can see them finishing fourth in the West.
Oh, in the entire conference, not just the division.
Yeah, not just the division. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely doable.
Possible. Anything's possible. For sure.
I mean, obviously it's all about where you finish in the division. In the conference isn't really in terms of playoff seeding, it's all about the division. But fourth overall in the conference, I mean, you think about the Pacific Division, you think about, the Flames, you think about the Oilers, I mean, out west, you're just thinking like, yeah, I mean, I think the Preds finished fourth in the conference, but in the division, I actually think that they could finish second place if everything breaks right. They have the roster to do it. So, let's go back to Kyle. Also added an extra bonus hot take to his. He has the wildest hot takes out of everybody tonight. He also throws in, we also acquire Ryan Suter at the deadline. Don't at me. and then he leaves a GIF that says potatoes, boil them, mash them, stick them in a stew. So yeah, that's all over the place. I love it, Kyle. Thanks, Kyle, for those hot takes there.
So,
Lord of the Rings reference.
So from one Kyle to another, you need to put the monster can down.
That's pretty good though.
Yeah.
And he actually put a GIF of an MMA fighter like doing a dance and all this stuff.
I can't think of that fighter's name. He's the Irish guy. No, he's the Irish fighter who spoke out about mental health after he won his fight.
Paddy Pimblett?
Yes.
Is that who that is? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, he's doing a fancy dance in the ring.
Yeah. So Kyle wins the hottest takes here, at least for most creative. Kyle wins the day here with those. Those are some good ones, though. Sure. We appreciate it, everybody.
Yep.
All right. Well, guys, like I said, we're almost through the season. Let me think of another hot take before we wrap up this episode, just to have a little fun here. All right, my hottest Preds take here is that. I think it's a pretty hot take to say that the Predators are going to finish second in the division. I think that's a pretty hot take.
Yeah. Doable. It's definitely doable, but I was going to say third, but if everything turns
right,
you can definitely do it.
I'll give you another hot take. I think that the Predators are going to be very big buyers at the trade deadline, and that they're going to give us another really big move at the deadline, and that David Poile is going to put all of his chips on the table.
Pushing him in.
And yeah, exactly.
He's going to go for it.
He's going to go for it.
He's going to go, I'll give you a Dante Fabro, and I'll give you all sorts of good stuff thrown in.
Awesome. Ellie Tolvanen. We'll throw a Tolvanen in there.
I'll give you a Fabro and raise you a Tolvanen. Yep. And you give us, I don't know what.
Throw in a Michael.
Throw in a Michael McCarron. Is that what you said?
How many more cast-off players can we throw in? Michael McCarron, Dante Fabro,
Neiman Marcus,
Ellie Tolvanen. We'll throw you a couple of draft picks. Yeah, and then you have to give us, like, after all those players and that, we better get someone really good at that point.
For sure. Definitely.
All right, everybody. We appreciate you listening here on Catfish on Ice, episode 143. We love you all. We appreciate all of you. We hope that you're getting ready for hockey as it gets closer and closer to coming back. We miss everybody. We can't wait for the new season to start. Have a great week. We'll see you next week. This has been Catfish on Ice, presented by DraftKings, part of Hockey Podcast Network with Chad Minton, Kyle Perkins. Everybody stay safe and take care.